Hello everybody, my name is Arstron and today we're going to be doing a video on my AMD build. If you're wondering why I'm doing this all in a voiceover, it's because I recorded this with the Logitech C920 and the audio was horrible. So I hope this doesn't turn out too bad. A little information about this build. The case is a LIAN PCA71F. I've removed the massive hard drive cages and will be installing an EK Web 280mm radiator in the front, as well as a EK Web 360mm radiator in the top. For the motherboard, I'm using an ASRock 990 FX Fatal1ty Killer Edition with a 3-year-old AMD 8120 FX CPU. For the graphics card, I'm using an AMD 7970 with a Heatkiller Water block. Well, that's enough about the build. Let's go ahead and get started actually building this computer. What I'm doing here is adding some foam gaskets that'll help reduce noise and also create a seal between the radiator fans and the case. Most people don't do this, however, I wanted to do this with all the fans I have in here. It'll really help reduce vibration and noise. Here you can see me attaching my fans to the radiator. This is some exciting stuff. This is why I'm only showing it on one radiator. I don't want you guys too excited. We're going to mount the 280mm radiator into the front of the case. Because I wanted the tubing to be as compact as possible, I needed the fittings to be on top. However, I didn't consider this when planning everything out, so I had to drill a new hose in the front to mount the radiator. That's not too big of an issue though. Here I have my ASRock 990 FX-8120 Killer Edition motherboard. I picked this motherboard up for a couple of reasons. First, I needed a red and black themed motherboard to match this computer build. Secondly, I wanted the ability to use a M.2 SSD in the future, and this is the only option that meet both those criteria. Also included is the E2200 Killer NIC, which I really wanted to test out and see if it lives up to all the hype I've been hearing about. A few other features include Purity sound. I'm going to compare this to my Asus Sonar SXT in another video. A Fatal1ty mouse port to use with F-Stream software, which I honestly have not tested yet. I'm kind of curious how that's going to work out and if it's actually going to improve anything. It does have three-way crossfire and SLI support, although I am only using one graphics card. I do have a second 7950 I can put in, but I don't have a water block that'll fit it. This also comes with a 3-month license of Premium XSplit, which I plan on putting to use later, not at this time though. Here I am installing my AMD 8120 FX CPU and EK EVO Supremacy water block. I'm using a thermal compound that I haven't used before. It's a G.SKILL GC-3 Extreme. It came with an applicator. I tried using it but ended up giving up and did my normal just spread it out with my finger routine. The EK EVO Supremacy water block has turned out to be really, really good. I'm really happy with it. The max temps that I've had on it is 58 degrees Celsius on my CPU, and that's even when I was trying to push my CPU to 5.5 gigahertz. It just absolutely amazing. The limiting factor in that was actually the voltage regulators on the motherboard, but that's a different video there. Here I'm installing my G.SKILL Ripjaws series DDR3 1333 megahertz RAM. This is an 8 gigabyte kit. This is my Intel network card. It's a gigabit network. I repainted the back plate on it just to make it match everything, and right here I'm putting it all back together. This is my MSI Twin Frozr edition 7970. Installed on it is a Heatkiller Water block. And for the mounting plate, I've painted it red to match everything else on the case. All the PCI Express slots, everything will be, all the covers will all be painted red in this. Now here I'm just mounting the motherboard into the case. I prefer to put as many items onto the motherboard as I can before I mount it. That way I'm not pushing on the motherboard any more than I have to when I put the RAM in and the CPU, everything else. Now this is an interesting part of my build. I've created these plastic pieces to put around the radiator to create like a shroud to keep the hot air exhausting from the radiator from blowing back into the case. This also will help to push all the hot air out the back of the case, which is actually working really good. Well, the rest of the video is me trying to snake all the wires through and figure out the best way to run them to hide them. It's a little bit of a challenge because of the size of this case and the size of that motherboard tray. That thing is really, really big. I have yet to use a motherboard that has actually used all of that motherboard tray. I did run into some issues. I think it's actually further on in the build. When I went to mount the hard drives, my SATA cables actually weren't long enough, so I still have to order a couple more SATA cables. I ended up actually just running them directly from the hard drives to the SATA ports on the motherboard. It doesn't look great, but it's functional at least. And well, that's about it. I'll go ahead and cue up some music, and we'll let the music take you out of here. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a like or thumbs up or whatever you want to call it. And I'll stick around for part 2, I hope. You have a good one.